as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications the top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
When you're vacationing in your RV, there are some things you can always count on. Taking the kayaks out on the lake, hot dogs on the grill, and your sister's boyfriend pulling out his acoustic guitar.
Everyone quiet! Harrison's playing. Wow, you're so good, Harrison.
With Progressive, your RV is protected 24/7, so you're prepared for whatever you don't see coming. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Australia is suing U.S.-based 3M for over $1.4 billion, citing contamination from so-called forever chemicals.
This is the largest legal claim ever brought by the Australian government, which argues that foam containing chemicals that don't naturally break down was used in 28 defence bases across the country. According to the Attorney General, Michelle Rowland, 3M failed to disclose environmental risks that it knew about. The government seeking to recover what it called significant costs of investigating, managing and fixing the contamination. 3M has said that the company would defend itself against the claims, adding that the Department of Defense kept using the firefighting foam in question for 2 decades after it stopped selling the product in Australia.
The BBC's Katie Watson. Ukrainian President Zelensky is visiting Stockholm for talks with the Swedish Prime Minister, talks focusing on greater defense cooperation. News and analysis at townhall.com.
From the KSEV Weather Center, today will feature partial sunshine with a high of 90. Expect partly cloudy skies tonight with a low of 73. Tomorrow will bring partial sunshine once again with a high reaching 92. Saturday is expected to have a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 92. Sunday will see a combination of clouds and sunshine with a high of 90. On Monday, anticipate glimpses of blue sky along with a chance of a thunderstorm with a high of 90. With the KACV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Texas isn't just a place. It's a feeling. A kind wave from a neighbor. Sharing a plate of barbecue. Or celebrating a big win on the football field. It's the way we treat each other. On and off the road. So every time you drive like a Texan. Kind, courteous, and safe. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation.
Tune in to the Ray Massey Reverse Mortgage Show each Friday at 1 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. with Trabo Mortgage. Or call Ray directly at 855-266-1600 or online at reversemortgages4texans.com.
Get ready for the next generation of talk radio. It's time for politics, pop culture, and proud pro-American conservatism. Strap yourselves in, grab a coffee. It's time for the Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
So many times it happens too fast. You trade your passion for glory. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive. It's
Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you've tuned into the program, everybody. I'm glad you're here on a Thursday, one day before we head into the weekend. I do plan on seeing the new Disney offering. I know. I canceled Disney Plus, and for good reason. But I will see the new Grogu Mandalorian offering at the movie theater. Now, Russell, I think he took the boys to go see it and said it was good. Wasn't great. It was good. And I was very pointed. I asked him, am I going to walk away saying this was a waste of money? And he said no. So Russell, one of the few individuals on planet Earth who I trust to give me an accurate representation of what is good as far as Star Wars goes. So I will go and see it. Folks, I guess I could just put it this way. For those of you who are Gen X, you know what Star Wars means to our generation and how it changed everything as far as entertainment was concerned. You know what? I got to be honest with you that I long for the day when this country can get things back on track with its government, get things back on track with the education system or the lack of education system as it is right now, get it back on track with actual education, freedom, liberty, prosperity, security, get it all back in line, which is what the conservative wants and is aiming for, and leave all of this destabilization, this left-wing kookery behind, and we can get back to doing things like, wow, did you see the game? And wow, did you see the new movie? That's how I came up, because we had grown-ups that dominated government. We have children now who dominate government, both political parties. And I'm sad to report that we keep sending the same shrubs back. I've been trying to get to a whole bunch of sound bites for a long time here. So I'm going to try to get to a discussion about the biased press today, because we have a guest coming up second hour who the biased press is going to be making an appearance, and some would call it election interference in this upcoming election cycle. Rather than just calling balls and strikes, here's what one candidate says, here's what the other candidate says, the biased press will be putting their thumb on the scale. And I can think of no better example of the biased left-wing press than we've been detailing here in the GOP primary in Texas. And individuals in the press who are saying, you know, we people who are never Trumpers, we people who don't believe in America first, we prefer the sellouts in the Republican Party. We like the dynamic of where we are. That the Democrats go bat guano crazy, weaponize government. The Republicans roll over and do everything they can to make sure Democrats get away with it. And we like it that way, say these individuals who like to pass themselves off as journalists, or some of them even like to portray themselves as right wing. And they're not. I'll give you an example of putting the thumb on the scale of elections, wanting candidates and causes that will be detrimental to the country. Let's listen to this.
And Cornyn is a huge, prolific fundraiser, very popular. So I think the caucus was pretty down yesterday. Hopefully John Cornyn can still win, because Ken Paxton is an extremely flawed candidate, and I sense the worst is yet to come about his background.
The individuals who are not Texans, individuals who don't know Texas, individuals who don't, I just went back and forth with somebody online who basically started spewing all of these talking points. Ken Paxton was indicted, and they stop. Yeah, he was indicted over 14 years ago, and all charges were dropped. He was exonerated because they were all bogus charges. All it was throwing a whole bunch of smoke, trying to con voters into thinking there was fire. It was a dirty trick. It was a politically motivated persecution, not prosecution. And there was no there. And this guy fought. Now, in America, folks, you're guaranteed a speedy trial. Over a decade, they dragged this out. And I think there was a post I put up yesterday. I think it's near the top of most of social media. I'll go to Truth Social because I think it's near the top there, because it got reshared a couple of times, buried and reshared a couple of times on X. This is from Seth Keshel. And I want you guys to hear the Brian Kilmeades of the world, what they've been saying. This chick that I engaged online with all of the lies. Oh, he was impeached. What was the outcome? Oh yeah, completely exonerated of any wrongdoing. And in fact, the impeachment itself was the lawless breach, which, by the way, still some people have yet to serve jail time for that illegal breach in the Texas legislature of this falsely predicated impeachment. Anyhow, so here's what we've been treated to Ken Paxton, just Ken Paxton. He's an example of an effective conservative who happens to be a Republican, who has done nothing but deliver for you and me and put you first, prioritize American citizens first, and not the swamp, and not elected officials, and not elitists. And you get dumb parrots like this chick that I was engaging coming on the line saying, he was indicted. What was the result, dummy? Oh, I don't want to say that. He was impeached. What was the result, dummy? Oh, I don't want to say that. It's half-truths, inaccuracies, and not knowing at all what you're talking about, just spouting off crazy crap. And I've been watching Ken Paxton's career as closely as I've been watching President Trump's career since he got on the political stage. And I know precisely, it's a pattern. Once you see it, folks, you can't unsee it. If you're effective and you believe in putting the Constitution and the American people first, you are a target, and they will do anything they can to discredit you. They will weaponize the law. They will make up charges just to give uninformed people like this dummy on X, oh my gosh, he's indicted. Oh my gosh. This is from Seth Keshel. This is what we were told by the Brian Kilmeades throughout the entirety of Ken Paxton's career. Are you ready? Paxton won't become Attorney General. He did. Paxton won't survive the primary by the Bush dynasty. The insurmountable Bush dynasty, folks. He did. Paxton won't be reelected again. He was. Not once, twice, 3 times. Paxton won't survive impeachment, a fake and phony impeachment. He did. Became stronger because of it, because Texans found out, unlike this woman who was posting online, found out it was all contrived, all made up, all crooked, all fake. Paxton won't run for Senate. Paxton won't beat Cornyn. Paxton won't get Trump's endorsement. Paxton won't beat Cornyn by more than 5. Okay, Paxton won't beat Cornyn by more than 25. By the way, he beat him by 27, 28, folks. And then there are parentheses in this list. It says, you are here. This is where we are now in Ken Paxton's career. And he gives you a couple of posts for the future. Paxton won't beat Tallarico. And then, Paxton won't beat Tallarico by 10 points. And then the Senate won't seat Ken Paxton. That's what's coming, folks. All of it stupid, all of it uninformed, all of it uttered by complete utter morons or charlatans who know it's inaccurate but are putting it out there. And only those who are informed, and I know that you guys, this isn't your job. Your job isn't to sit there and pay as close attention as I do, but it is your job to pay attention. So I'm just encouraging you, when you see these narratives online pushed by Brian Kilmeade or the rest of the left-wing press, the Never Trump press, those who are deathly afraid of effective Republicans, make sure you dig deeper and do your own investigation. Once you do, once you go, hey, Ken Paxton was indicted, and you find out all the charges were dropped, and you find out that he had to go over 10 years to get justice, to even get a trial to a judge that could say, yeah, this was all BS, community service, you're out of here. Right? It was so egregious. Community service, folks. Oh my gosh. So there you go. I want you all to get educated. You're going to need it, because the biased press is going to be throwing up a whole bunch of smoke trying to convince you there's fire. All right, when we get back, one of my favorite journalists, he's a libertarian guy, and he's one of my favorite journalists, has for years. And the stuff he brings up, I'm going to give an example of real journalism, folks. And that's how you'll be able to tell when you're getting BS'd in this campaign cycle and you're getting the truth. Back in a minute.
The
Best in financial talk and more. Money Matters, every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. till noon, here on AM 700 KSEV, AM 1540 KGBC, and streaming online at ksevradio.com.
For many years, the Pine Box has been helping families gain insight into the often confusing and extremely expensive task of arranging a loved one's funeral. I have worked with Pine Box in the death of 2 family members.
You know, folks, once you get past 50, like I am, you start to notice changes. Let me be charitable. Changes. Energy isn't the same. Your circulation, it's a little off, and you just don't bounce back, after a workout like you used to. That's why I started taking supplements from Golden after 50, and I got to tell you, impressive formulation and impressive combination they set me up with. I'm using NitroFlow 9 for nitric oxide support, helps the blood flow. I added their Beet formula for circulation. It's a good antioxidant, as I understand it too. Golden Research for overall anti-aging support, and Male Ignite to support healthy testosterone levels. What I like about this is it's kind of simple. It's targeted for what my needs are, being a guy after 50 who still tries to get an exercise. And it's built for guys like us who want to stay sharp, active, and feel like ourselves. After taking it consistently, I've noticed better energy, better stamina after the workout and during the workout, and just an overall improvement in how I feel every day. If you're in the same boat, guys, as I am, and looking for something that actually supports your body as you age, you've got to try this today. I like these products so much and was, so effusive in my praise. They actually named the stuff I'm taking after me, the Chris Salcedo stack, the exact products I'm taking, folks. So click on the link in the description or scan the QR code. Use the code CHRIS20. Get 20% off your first order. If you're serious about supporting your health as you age, it's a must try. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code. Use the promo code CHRIS20 to get 20% off your order. This discount only applies while supplies last. Take care of your health, men. And do it now because it matters.
Where you've heard about love and giving sight to the blind. My baby loving cause the sun to shine. And she my sweet little thing. She my pride and joy.
There we go, folks. Welcome back. You found the Chris Salcedo Show. This is your daily excursion into critical thinking. I was thinking yesterday about how the press is going to try to insert itself once again into this election cycle. And we saw it during the primaries, and we're gonna see it on steroids now when it's Republican versus Democrat. Before I get to my favorite journalist, one of my favorite journalists, John Stossel. Let me get out to Spencer, who is in Katy, Texas. Spencer, what say you?
Chris, hi. Interesting. I was thinking about the same thing. What are the chances that the establishment Senate, who control the millions of dollars for the RNC, is going to withhold funds from Paxton for revenge over Cornyn?
If they do, Ken Paxton's now notoriety as the nominee. By the way, it took them forever to come out and say, he's our nominee, we're going forward. It took Thune and all of his Paxton's detractors a long time. There's the RNC, there's the National Republican Senatorial Committee, then there's the the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee. All these entities. And what you got to know, Spencer, is they're being controlled right now. And by the way, here's the good news. Republicans are outraising Democrats, not by a little, but by a lot. Democrats, what are you doing, by the way? There's a whole bunch of shuffling going on in the background. Are you making breakfast?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yes, exactly.
What are you making?
For my dog. I'm preparing my dog's breakfast.
Well, I was going to ask what's on the menu, but I don't know if I want to know now. Anywho,
rough greens.
Okay, very good. Rough greens. I've heard good things about that. That's the all natural human food, right? Is that
it's a supplement. You sprinkle it on. It really helps.
Oh, okay, very good. All right. We make our own dog food in the Salcedo household. We make it ourselves. Usually it's turkey, and then green beans, rice, and we mix it all up, and that's what we got the dogs on. Yeah,
that's what I do. Chicken, mix veggies and rice, and then I sprinkle rough greens on it.
There you
Exactly.
go. Okay. Wait a minute. So back to the fundraising. The Republicans are out fundraising, not by a little, by a lot. They're blowing the Democrats out of the water. Democrats are broke. So what Chris LaCivita and FP1 Strategies is doing is taking all of that money and directing it to fake Republicans like John Cornyn to make sure the Democrats get their views in government and sell us out in the process. And so the Republicans, quote, maintain control, but Democrat ideology is running everything. And that's what's going on right now. So you'd be a fool.
I got to argue with you.
Yeah, you'd be a
When you
fool
say
to
Democrats
donate
are broke,
to NRSC. If you donate to the National Republican Congressional Committee, it's the stupidest donation you can ever make. They don't deserve your money. They dedicate your money to defeating conservatives, not defeating socialists and Marxists. So it's a unwise investment. But go ahead, push back.
but when you say Democrats are broke, come on, Reid Hoffman, Soros, all the guy in China. So they funnel all this dark money through all these NGOs in different areas. They're never broke. They've got all of these scumbags who give them money through the back door. You know that.
Well, why do you think John Thune is so upset with Trump? Why do you think John Cornyn was so upset with Trump? Because Trump is cutting off all of those folks. What he's articulating, let me simplify what he just said. Planned Parenthood got over $500 million a year from taxpayer dollars. They said, we're going to use it to keep the lights on. We're going to use it to pay our doctors. We're going to use it to pay our rent. What they did was they slaughtered children in the womb, took all the profits because they didn't have to spend those profits on their maintaining their multi-million-dollar slaughtering of children industry. They took the taxpayer dollars to pay all their expenses, and they used all the profit from abortions to donate to who? Democrats. The money laundering operation that government has devolved into to keep Democrats whole, as Spencer's talking about, is wholly owned by John Thune, by the 20 or so fake Republicans who oppose the Save America Act. These individuals, Cornyn has voted again and again and again to fund this Democrat fraud. And so when Trump shuts down USAID, when Trump dries up all the taxpayer-funded Democrat funding, these fake Republicans get really pissed, get really angry. It's their good Democrat friends. How are they supposed to get back to corruption as usual if President Trump is cutting off all of their good Democrat friends' illegitimate income sources, right? Nobody in their right mind.
So my original question.
Nobody in their right mind donates to a Democrat, but go ahead.
Are they going to deny Paxton money, though? That's my question.
Well, I would say it would be very difficult at this point. Now that he's the nominee, it would be very, very difficult. They may not be as enthusiastic. I can tell you this. There is no way the Republicans will be spending over $100 million the way they did on Cornyn to beat a conservative on the conservative. There's no way. And they're going to say, oh, we've got to defend Susan Collins, a rhino, from the Nazi-wearing tattoo guy. By the way, Spencer, you know the Nazi tattoo guy. He's polling ahead of Susan Collins. Democrats are saying, hey, look at the Nazi tattoo-wearing guy. We're going to vote for him.
Graham Plattner, right?
Yeah, the Democrats love themselves some Nazi tattoo guys, right? He's going to beat the Nazi tattoo guy is going to beat the fake Republican Susan Collins. Did you know that? He's going to wipe the floor with her because Democrats who run the state of Maine are like, hey, I'd rather vote for a Nazi than a Republican. And that's who the Democrats are. Well, remember, the Nazis were socialists. Don't forget, the Nazis were socialists. Spencer, thank you, my man. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it.
Okay, see you.
Bon appetit to the pooch. Folks, yeah, I would recommend you make your own food for your dogs. A lot of the stuff out there, have you been noticing? Russell, do you have a dog? I've never asked. Do you have a dog? Do you and the kids have a dog?
Yes.
What do you feed it?
What?
What do you feed your dog?
Dog food.
Well, no kidding. Do you make it yourself or do you? Because there's a rise out there in the dog food industry of getting food that people can eat for your dog.
We don't feed dog that.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of additives and a lot of stuff that they're finding that the vet bills that are coming later in life, just like with human beings, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So we make our own dog food. It's literally it's turkey, green beans, unsalted, pasta, the little pastina bits, and we mix it all together, and we put it in baggies and freeze it, and just thaw out the bags every single time the dogs run out of food. And there's one supplement my dog gets to keep the plaque off the teeth, so it doesn't build up, because she had some dental problems. And by the way, those of you who saw the Cuddly commercials we did way back in the day, yeah, that's my dog. That's my dog. She starred with me in the commercial. Anyhow, telephone number's 281, folks. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Let me start exploring real journalism. Here's John Stossel, and he goes as a journalist after one of the Democrats' sacred cows. We played the Ted Cruz soundbite for you the other day of Ted Cruz just articulating the real history of the Democrat Party and slavery and racism. The Democrat Party is the party of racism. Now it turns out the Democrat Party is the party of Nazi tattoo-wearing freak jobs. They're going to vote. The Democrats are going to vote for the Nazi-wearing tattoo guy in Maine, and the press will not cover it. They're going to cover it up because we don't want to give away a narrative we don't want to tell the facts to destroy the narrative we spent all this time and money building up in the country. Shame on you people in the press for not reporting on because you're all Democrats, your Nazi tattoo wearing freak show. Shame on all of you people. I don't want to hear another lecture from any one of you falsely claiming any one of us are Nazis when you vote for Nazis, when you vote for full-on freaks. Okay? Don't come to me. I don't want to hear it. So here's John Stossel, folks. Well, now we got the music playing. Okay, other side of the break, Stossel attacks the lies that you've been told through the press, through GovEd, through left-wing circles your entire life about slavery, about race in this country. Stossel, as a real journalist, says, I'm going to report the facts and not the narrative. And that's why Stossel is a journalist and why so many at the Houston Comical, your local news stations, ABC, NBC, CBS, even now the Karl Rove Never Trump Network and certain personalities, why it's all fake news. Back in a minute, the Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas.
This is Guy Benson, and you're listening to the home of the Guy Benson Show, weekday afternoons, 2 to 4 p.m. on The Voice of Texas.
My good cup of coffee this morning brought to me, and it could be you too, folks. It could be brought to you if you would just head on over to huntersblendcoffee.com/storm. Of course, I'm speaking about my pals at Hunter's Blend Coffee. Hunter's Blend Coffee, folks, they source from the top 6% of coffee beans on planet Earth. And that's what they use as the base material for their craftsmanship. They're roasting to perfection. They roast it, they process it, they grind it, or they can leave it whole bean, and they send it to you. And there you go. And that's that freshness. You open up that, folks, you don't even have to open the package. And you open up the box, you're like, whoa, the coffee is that potent. It's that strong. It's going to be, I can smell it when I open the box. That's what happened to me. Then you put it in the coffee maker or the percolator, whichever way you do it. And then the smell that fills your kitchen, and you're ready for this experience. You take that first sip and you're going, oh man, this isn't just rot gut coffee to get me a caffeine boost in the morning. This is crafted coffee that is great stuff, made by patriots. Hunter's Blend Coffee, folks. defenders of the Second Amendment, naturally. The name denotes that, but they also support the sanctity of life and good Christian men who run this joint. So huntersblendcoffee.com/storm. Use the promo code STORM. You're going to get 10% off your first order. huntersblendcoffee.com/storm. They are the official coffee sponsor of the Chris Salcedo Show, folks, and I don't make that promotion lightly. Use the promo code STORM for 10% off that first order.
Saturday is expected to have a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 92. Sunday will see a combination of clouds and sunshine with a high of 90. On Monday, anticipate glimpses of blue sky along with a chance of a thunderstorm with a high of 90. With the KACV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
I just tell you, Michael is so dumb. He's on the line, he's being a smart ass, saying that, he wants to talk. His name is Eddie, and he wants to talk about how much of a scumbag Ken Paxton is.
Oh, all right, come back. All right, Russell, get up on the microphone. So, you got Michael on hold, huh?
Yeah, claiming his name is Eddie.
Oh, one of the people I went at on social media, one of these people who use fake names. I mean, seriously, one of these people use fake names and say, "Oh, you're terrible," and it's like, dude, when your opening bid is, "I'm going to lie to you about who I am," it's like everything that comes out of your mouth should be suspect. I'm going to lie to you about who and what I am. And folks, that's what Michael is. And trust me, folks, if Michael could put together a cogent argument and say, here's what I believe. This is where he falls down. This is why he can't be he tries to use conservative media to launch his own career so that people will pay attention to him. And what he's lacking, what he doesn't understand, what he doesn't get is he doesn't have a core. He doesn't have any conviction. He doesn't believe in anything except for burning crap down. That's all Michael is about. When you use autistic children as a political weapon, I mean, really, how big a degenerate can you be, right? That's Michael. And what he won't listen to any of our advice. He doesn't know why he's stuck in neutral, why his online attempts to be the call-in guy or whatever the hell he's calling himself this week. Michael, just take my advice, man. Stand for something. Take a stand. Take an opinion. Come on the net, because you're never welcome back here because you crossed the line, and it's one you can't undo. And every single time, and the audience has spoken, they don't want you back because you're a liar. You can't even tell the truth about your real name. You can't even, your opinions, I'm sorry, you don't have any opinions. Your positions and your calls are so meaningless that the audience has grown so tired of you. It's agreeing with me isn't a prerequisite. John calls up here and disagrees with me sometimes. Probably John and I go 50-50, right? Sometimes we're in 100% agreement. Sometimes we're not. Barry, sometimes we're in 100% agreement. Sometimes we're not. They take a stand. They try to make an argument. Dude, all you do is moan and complain. You're just a little girl whining and complaining and moaning instead of saying, here's my position. Here's what I think ought to happen. Let's debate the position. There's a reason why you don't do that. And I understand you. I get you. I know you like the back of my hand. I know you're kind. I know precisely who and what you are. So Michael, just take my advice, man. Try to figure out who you are and what you stand for. And if you stand for what AOC stands for, destroying America, well, I'm going to oppose you, but go ahead, take your stand, right? Go ahead and take your stand. But anyway, so that, folks, Michael's not coming back. I've heard you all loud and clear. You don't want him. And I understand. And for a while there, I was stubbornly allowing him to come on because he doesn't make any point. I'll give you an example. I got an email about Barry. And I think I shared this with you guys. Russell, you're my witness, right? You got the same email, right? It was sent to the station. And you and our general manager forwarded it to me. And they were complaining about Barry. But do you know why Barry, even though he doesn't agree with me, is always welcome on the show? It's because Barry has a point of view. He states it clearly, what he believes ought to happen. Now, is he going to get challenged sometimes by me? Yes. Will I agree with him sometimes? Yes. And we've done that. That's what people of goodwill can do. They can talk. They can debate. This is why we can't debate with Democrats anymore, because they're not people of goodwill. They don't want to continue to be Americans. There's no baseline that we have in common with these people anymore. They don't want to be Americans. They don't want to live under the Constitution. They want to steal your rights and liberty. I can't meet that halfway like John Cornyn can. John Cornyn says, oh, you want to steal people's rights? Well, let me meet you halfway. We'll take away some of their rights so you and I can get along. And he sacrifices yours and my rights, right? That's why he was so persona non grata among conservatives. It's why the election results, we saw a 27, 28 point spanking of John Cornyn. Americans are tired of their so-called representatives selling us out, selling out our rights, our freedoms, our prosperity to just get in the good graces of left-wing kooks who hate us. So, Michael, if you ever get out there and you try to do some media on your own, dude, just take a stand on something. Stand for something. Just getting on and moaning and complaining and thinking you're cute, it just drives people nuts. You know, people who disagree with me come on and disagree with what you just said there. I disagree with, and we debate it, right? And I will. And sometimes, doesn't happen very often these days, sometimes somebody will make a point and I go, you know what? You're right. You're right. But you're not like that, Michael. You have a closed mind and an empty one at that. A closed and empty mind. You're not even willing to hear anybody's argument or state one of your own. It's why it's worthless talk radio. It's a waste of time. It's worthless. People want to hear the issues debated. People want to hear about some pop culture. People want to hear what's going on in the world, right? All you do is moan and complain. You never propose a solution. You never propose an argument against what Trump is doing. It's just orange man bad. And dude, there's nothing special about that. There's nothing that is informative about that. There's nothing that is rational about that. Brian Kilmeade, prime example. I'm a never Trumper. I hate Trump, blah, 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 blah. Hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. Who was this? When did I have this conversation? I'm trying to remember. It must have been on yesterday's show. Somebody called in, and I think it was John. This is one of the points. It was all Trump, 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 Trump. Had no room in his particular argument for, wait a minute, what about the people? What about our people? Trump, 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 Trump. It's pathological sometimes. And you've got to, when you start talking past each other, and that's how we ended the phone call yesterday with John. It's like we had to end the phone call. But at least he took a position on something. You don't do that, Michael. It's just, I hate Trump and I want to get out, or I hate anybody who's a conservative who believes in opposing a Democrat. Democrats don't deserve opposition. And Michael, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're just as unpopular as John Thune is. You're just as unpopular as Bill Cassidy and Tom Tillis and these individuals who look at 84% of the country and say, no Save America Act for you. Now, Democrats, they take a position. Yes, they do. They wanted to impose socialized medicine on this country. And even though there was no majority of Americans who wanted it, the Democrats crammed it down our throats anyway. That's the difference. Democrats will make sure the country loses. And sadly, the Republican leadership in the Senate is committed to the same thing. America loses every time. Washington, D.C. and the elites win every time. And frankly, Michael, I'm not interested in hearing people who want to keep that status quo. It's led to the failures of our system. When you prioritize the needs of an elite few over the many, stupid, ultimately self-defeating. Those of you out there who believe that there's an elite group of people who deserve to live high on the hog and that it's your lot in life to trudge down in the mud and work for them and enslave yourself to them. Yes, we call you Democrats. You're wrong. You're 100% wrong. And it's why I'm 100% vindicated when I say you people no longer wish to be Americans. 100% vindicated. An American doesn't live to serve elitists in a far-off capital. That's not American. And that's what they've conditioned us to do. That's what your GovEd is conditioning your children right now as we speak to do, to be supplicant rather than your proper role in American society, which is boss. We, the people, collectively are the boss. And these shrubs up on Capitol Hill, every Democrat, with the exception of one guy that I can think of, and an uncomfortable number of Republicans, the Uniparty. It is the greatest threat to this country. Folks, go check out my latest article. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Latest article on Substack is called We Outnumber Them. Go check it out. Those of you who are stubborn and want to buy into, hey, whatever Washington, D.C. does to me is A-okay with me. Those of you who think like that, you may be shocked into reality. Not only that it shouldn't be that way, it doesn't have to be that way. Now, Stossel. John Stossel, unlike Michael, is convicted as a convicted person with journalistic ethics, who says, let's explore a mantra or a concept, and let's explore if it's really true. It's journalism. Here's the Democrats say that they oppose racism and that they oppose slavery, but do they really? Do they really? John Stossel exploring this. Listen.
The original sin of slavery.
The original sin of slavery.
Today, Americans are taught when it comes to slavery, America was the worst.
The Atlantic slave trade from Africa to the Americas was different from any other type of slavery.
The United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We created it.
Okay. That's just historically inaccurate. The unibrow, Tim Kaine, the Senator Tim Kaine, this guy who was a vice presidential candidate, he just uttered a complete historical inaccuracy. Folks, if you go back far enough, every ethnic group, every race has enslaved another throughout human history. You go back far enough. The idea that slavery didn't exist before the United States did is stupid, specious. It is absolutely inaccurate. But Democrats are teaching your children this because in Texas and in other Republican states, Republicans have turned over your children to stupid crap like this. What he just said, 100% untrue. But your kids are being taught it. Why? Because Democrats want your children to be raised to hate America the way Democrats do.
American slavery was worse because
the slaves were reduced to property. They were chattel property. No other system of slavery did that except American slavery.
That's complete nonsense.
Wilfred Riley is a political science professor and author of Lies My Liberal Teacher Told Me.
Now, when was the last time you saw anybody from the fake news press, folks, challenge a Democrat when they said, slavery was exclusively belongs to America. Nobody was ever enslaved before America. When was the last time? This is the crap that your children are being taught right now by committed leftists and Marxists and Democrats in GovEd. And the biased press whether they be at the Houston Comical, whether they be in your local news stations or the national. When was the last time anybody on the national stage, even at the Karl Rove Never Trump Network, took a story like this and said, hey, wait a minute. Everything that's being said about slavery, about the history of slavery, is inaccurate. It's not true. It's a lie told by Democrats to get you, to guilt you into giving up your rights. The way they lie about everything else, climate change or whatever the hell they're lying, illegal aliens, whatever they're lying about. Telephone numbers 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. They're going to, what's the whole point of me bringing this up? We got more of the report coming, okay? But why am I bringing this all up? The way they're lying to you about slavery, the way they're lying to you about climate change, the way they're lying to you about man-made global warming, the way they've lied to you forever, narrative over news, they're going to do it in the election. And you've got to have the tools to say, hey, all these people in the left-wing press are a bunch of filthy, stinking, rotten liars. And you need to get angry about it. Angry enough to do this. Turn them off. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. More from John Stossel next.
Hey Houston, Dana Lash here from The Dana Show. Excited to announce that we are back on The Voice of Texas every weekday afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. beginning Monday, June 1st on AM 700 KSEV and AM 1540 KGBC, The Voice of Texas.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Saad, president of Nix Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nix Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nix Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nix wants to be your plumbing company. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Call Nix Plumbing today. We're on the way.
Does your company have a cybersecurity writer? Are you compliant with its terms? If you're not sure, call Tactical Cyber Services for a free consultation, 713-229-0030, or go online to tacticalservices.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Talking about the left-wing press today. As you know, conservative talk radio's ascendancy was a direct counterbalance. This is how Limbaugh set up conservative talk radio, his vision. I'm taking too much liberty. He wanted to make a successful media operation that just ended up being a large counterbalance to the narrative over news press. And when we have debates about policy, everybody has their own damn narrative. Hell, I've got one, right? But when you're a journalist, you're supposed to have a different standard. It's just the facts. Narrative is not supposed to enter into real journalism. I'm a conservative talk show host. I have a point of view. I have a narrative. I look at a certain set of facts. I come out with a narrative. The biased press isn't supposed to do that, but they do. They have a left-wing narrative. They just don't admit it. I'm a journalist. Are you really? When you don't challenge demonstrably false statements because of your political ideology, are you really a journalist? And the answer is no. Stossel is a journalist because he will look at statements made by both sides. He will challenge those statements. Is it true that slavery didn't exist before America? And of course, it's demonstrably not true. as he's talking to an expert, Wilfred Riley, lies my liberal teacher told me.
Generational slavery. Like if you're the son of a slave, you're a slave. That was extraordinarily common. Slavery around the world was slavery.
Books like this, Unfinished Nation.
Yeah.
Slaves in Africa were kept unfree only for a fixed term.
No is the short answer. Most of the slaves taken by these sort of players would be either kept as slaves for their entire life or, more likely, sold to the whites and the Arabs in 2 years.
Yeah. By the way, folks, one of the biggest slavers in world history, Arabs. Arabs would come in to neighboring countries, steal people, and enslave them. Do you guys know that? Of course not. You were never taught that. Now, many of the people in the biased press who just accepted this crap as gospel, their ignorance is what they're passing on to all of you. But anybody that picks up a history book, anybody that does a Google search can find out that half the garbage you're being told is just that by Democrat lawmakers. It's just that garbage. How many remember the 1619 Project? This is the New York Times rewriting human history, rewriting the history to make America the bad guy. The United States of America, the only country in human history that fought a war with itself to get away from slavery. The only nation. Do you think they talk about that in the 1619 Project? Oh, no. Because the entire effort is to make you ashamed of your country, hate your country, every bit as much as leftists and Marxists do. And they're using race as a bludgeon to do it.
Today, partly thanks to the New York Times 1619 Project, students are taught that America's slavery was unlike anything that existed before.
We're the worst society ever. We've done things that no one else has ever done. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with acknowledging your historical mistakes. I mean, I'm Black, Irish, a bit Native American, at least per the family lore. I mean, those are three peoples that have experienced a great deal historically. Nothing wrong with acknowledging that. But it's extremely odd to focus only on the negatives of your society and to exaggerate those.
Yeah, wait a minute. What he just said. Extremely odd. Is it? The Michaels of the world, the Peters of the world, the left-wingers who call this program, they are singularly focused on what is wrong with America. Now, how is that different from what I do? I want to get back to everything that's right with America. I see John Thune nodding his head in agreement with these stupid, specious leftists, and not only agreeing with them, whether it be slavery, whether it be their right to cheat at the ballot box, whatever the hell he's agreeing with them with. He not only nods, he gives them power to implement the lies, to force you to live under a falsehood. John Thune and John Cornyn and John Barrasso and Tom Cotton, they are stealing, literally stealing the American dream from you and giving it to socialists and Marxists so they can control whether or not you get it or not, which is completely antithetical to what we're supposed to be as Americans. But they've sold out, folks. And that's why so many of these fake Republicans are now targets all over the country for angry voters who know the history, who know the truth, and say, you know what? There is no legitimate excuse for you as a Republican to sell me out to these Marxists. There is no legitimate excuse unless it's pursuit of your own power and corruption. And many Americans are waking up to it, to the point to where guys like Mitch McConnell will surrender to this kind of crap. Guys like Paul Ryan over at the Karl Rove Never Trump Network would surrender to this kind of crap. There's a reason why Stossel doesn't work over the Karl Rove Never Trump Network anymore, folks. They abandoned fair and balanced coverage. They dropped the fair and balanced moniker. Anybody ever ask the question why?
Americans are taught that slavers caught people in Africa and shipped them here. But few were taught that most slaves were not shipped to the United States.
Between 10.7 million and 12 million slaves from Africa went to the New World. We got a little under 400,000.
Under 400,000 out of 10 million.
The extreme focus on slavery in the United States, why did that happen? One reason is that a lot of black people survived here. Slavery was harsh, but it's a lot less harsh than clearing the Brazilian jungle.
All right, but American blacks are at a disadvantage. They have less capital, financial and educational.
That wasn't the case until the 1950s. Right up until the 1950s, folks, blacks were on par with economic growth with whites in this country. But something happened. The Democrats needed a victim. And the Democrats went on a jihad against the black community to enslave you again. Remember, the Democrat Party is the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of the Civil War, fighting to preserve slavery. Today, the Democrat Party is the party that is voting for a guy with Nazi tattoos on his chest. The Democrats in Texas, when given a choice between Jasmine Crockett and James Talafrico, who do they pick? They chose the white, questionable masculinity, fake Christian over Jasmine Crockett. What happened when the fake Hispanic Beto O'Rourke ran? A white guy against Colin Allred, a black guy. Who did the Democrats choose? Who did the Democrats choose? They chose the white guy. They chose the white guy. Every flipping time. That's the fact. That's the history. Right now, in Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus, they won't allow black Republicans in. The only criteria for the Black Caucus is allegedly being black. But Republicans are not allowed. Why? Because it's not the Congressional Black Caucus. It's the Congressional Black Communists. And only left-wing traitors are welcome in the Congressional Black Caucus. More from Stossel. The lies the media will tell you. Up next.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. Iran lashes out again at a maritime neighbor, bringing a stern rebuke from the U.S. military and driving oil prices higher.
Kuwait has said it was targeted with a missile and drone attack. That's another challenge to the shaky ceasefire in the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. Kuwait's military made the announcement without providing further details on what had been targeted. Iran said hours later that it launched an attack in the region. It did not say exactly what was targeted. Kuwait is a close ally of the U.S. and it repeatedly came under fire from Iran and Iranian-backed Shiite militias in Iraq during the war. President Donald Trump has expressed confidence that his administration is making headway in negotiations with Iran to end the war. I'm Karen Shamas.
A southern Beirut suburb has been blasted by Israeli airstrikes targeting Hezbollah. Earlier, the Israelis warned civilians to evacuate the area. 9 people are still missing following a chemical storage tank meltdown at a paper plant in Longview, Washington. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of a caustic chemical spilled, keeping search crews at bay.
We're bracing ourselves for this being the deadliest industrial tragedy in modern Washington state history. When you have a tragedy of that scale.
Yeah, and who runs Washington? Oh, that's right.
Families,
Democrats.
Communities is profound.
Washington Governor Bob Ferguson says 2 people are confirmed dead. The missing are presumed dead. Commerce Department reporting that inflation rose 3.8% last month compared to a year ago levels. Inflation hitting a 3-year high in April. Watching Wall Street ahead of this morning's opening bell, stock futures are in the red. The Dow futures are down about 70 points, while the S&P futures are off 2 points. NASDAQ futures up now by 2. Townhall.com.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a super fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. But wait, there's more. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be switching to an American wireless company that's committed to keeping 100% of its customer service in this country. I appreciate that. In fact, that's why I switched. I also appreciate the way they support our vets and our skilled workforce. Dial pound 250, say micro, and get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. That's pound 250 micro. Stop paying twice what you need to pay for the service you want and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Military planners always assumed that if a war with Iran began, the Iranians would attempt to take the Persian Gulf hostage and close the Straits of Hormuz. What nobody expected was that the Iranians would be allowed to export while America's allies, the Saudis, Kuwaitis, the UAE, and occasionally Qatar, would be blocked. A sort of mutually assured destruction was expected to provide enough leverage on Iran to keep the straits open. Yet, for a brief period, they were allowed to export their own crude and charge a ransom to anyone else wanting to do the same. That is, until the U.S. Navy stepped in with a blockade of its own on all Iranian exports, including crude oil. In just a few weeks, Iranian storage will max out, leaving Iranian oil producers with no other choices but to shut in oil wells permanently, damaging their ability to fund their economy, pay their military, and bankroll their terrorist proxies. The cutoff would be close to 100%, a huge blow if continued. Which is why, even though Democrats in Congress attempted to hand the Iranians a victory by pulling funding from our military, the United States will successfully force the Iranians to yield and concede to open the straits and end their nuclear weapons program, one way or another. Despite the media fawning over the brilliance of Iranian strategy, the Iranians will lose. Despite his political opponents rooting for U.S. strategy to fail, President Trump has bent the arc of history and dealt a homicidal regime a blow it will take decades to recover. The American people have not supported this war, and high gas prices will harm Republican chances in November. But the prospects of a deal on America's terms should result in us doing a lot better than most people think. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand. Only on AM 700 KSEV.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts.
Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and prune tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory, my friend for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs. So don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree prune. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Get ready for the next generation of talk radio. It's time for politics, pop culture, and proud pro-American conservatism. Strap yourselves in, grab a coffee. It's time for the Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
So many times it happens too fast. You trade your passion for glory. Don't lose your grip on the dreams of the past. You must fight just to keep them alive.
It's Chris Salcedo's show. Welcome to Hour 2, folks. Glad you tuned into the program. Our guest will be joining us sometime after the bottom of the hour. I'll have to keep an eye on that. And I'm going to give you guys one of the questions I'm going to ask my guest, and I want you guys to answer it. Remember, I have not claimed to be a journalist in many moons. When I got into opinion, I said, I am no longer a journalist. You can't have an opinion and be considered a journalist. In your work, you can have certainly you can have a personal opinion and still be considered a journalist. In your work, you can't claim to be a journalist and have a left-wing perspective or a right-wing perspective. Okay? So I'm going to ask all of you this question. Who do you trust out there in news right now? Who do you trust? I've already told you one of the people I trust, John Stossel. Have you heard John Stossel putting any of his own opinion into this? All he's doing is interviewing people and asking questions. That's all. Now, some would say by questioning Democrats, you're showing your bias because only Republicans are supposed to be questioned, never Democrats. That assumption in and of itself is bias, folks. Everybody can be questioned, right? No such thing for real journalists as a sacred cow. My telephone number is 281-558-5738. 281-558-KSEV. The question I'm going to be asking my guest, who is a former journalist, well, still a journalist, but formerly with corporate media, is this. Who's doing it right? Now, it's going to be one industry insider talking to another industry insider. What about you? Who do you trust? Now, I know you guys trust me. That's why you listen to the show. You guys like my information with my opinion, right? But I'm asking you, who do you trust to get you the straight information to let you make up your own mind? That's what I'm at. How many of you have thought about that? How many of you still watch news knowing how corrupt it is, knowing how useless it has become? How many of you still watch news? And if you do, who do you watch? I'll take it all, folks. Maybe you watch MSNBC or MSNBS or whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days, and you say, that's my favorite news source. Okay, we'll have words about that, I'm sure, but tell me who you think is doing news correctly. And how many of you have thought about the operations, the organizations, and the people who are giving you quote unquote information? Alleged, unbiased, unfiltered facts so you can make up your own mind. How many have even thought about that? I'm telling you, they will be a factor in the upcoming elections. They are desperate to stop America first. They are desperate to get back to corruption as usual because they're part of the corrupt crowd, folks. That's why I'm focusing on the press today. They're going to get a say in the upcoming elections. And I want to give you the tools to be able to sort through all the garbage. So tell me, telephone number's 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Who do you trust as a real journalist? Could be local, could be national. Let me know. Meanwhile, back to Stossel. Asking questions about these individuals who have been pushing a fake narrative, fake news, that America is the only country to ever undertake slavery.
Capital. What's the harm in pointing out how abusive white people were?
The harm is that pointing out how abusive white people were is not going to get Black Americans any more capital. Most of the problems of the modern Black community don't have anything to do with historical ethnic conflict 160 years ago.
The Great Society asked not how much, but how good.
Yeah. Lyndon Baines Johnson. a white Texas racist Democrat. A white racist Democrat who set blacks on a course for slavery in the modern era to the same people they were enslaved in before. Democrats. And you've been sold out, all you folks in the black community, by those who exchanged your freedom for a seat of power and a life of cushy comfort. Like Sheila Jackson Lee, like James Clyburn and others, caving in to guys like this.
Riley says most of the problems began when welfare began.
Yeah, by the way, not Stossel, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
In the black community, every time I've tried to break this out, increased about 800% between, say, 1963 and 1993. Racism didn't increase between 1960 and the modern era. You're looking at the impacts of the Great Society, the welfare programs.
Riley argues it's better to teach the truth that almost every society had slavery. The Aztecs, the Persians, Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, Vikings, and most of all, the Arab world.
The Arabs were probably history's premier slave traders.
No. Just ask Ilhan Omar. Just ask Rashida M.F. Tlaib. Just ask the Democrat Party. We don't want to talk about the Arabs, the creators of and the promulgators of political Islam. No. You can't point out their racist history. The most prolific slavers in world history, the Arabs. Oh, no. That's racist. If you point out that Arabs were actually the biggest slavers of the world in world history, that's racist. And it doesn't serve the Democrats' cause to ripping down America, does it?
Sometimes they captured poor whites from Slavic countries.
The Muslims, many of whom were dark-skinned or even black, took so many blonde slaves out of this region that they gave the word slave to the global slave population.
Many slaves were forced into harems.
Sexual slavery was very much a part of slavery. Like if your group was defeated in war, the men would probably just be killed or they'd be sold as farmhands. The women would often be sold as harem girls or prostitutes.
More than 1 million Europeans were enslaved. But Muslim slave traders took more people from Africa.
Yeah. Wow. Isn't it crazy? How many of you were taught this inside of GovEd? How many of you, the people in the Houston Comical, even bother to tell us the true history? True information. Folks, if the lion's share of America knew the true history, what would that do? What would that do if they knew the truth, if they knew the facts? What would that do about Democrats, about the history of slavery? It would completely unravel the foundations of the Democrats' lies. If America awakened and said, wow, Democrats have been lying to us this entire time as a mechanism to enslave us. Folks, it's not just with slavery. They do it with man-made global warming. They do it with other divisions. They did it with the gays. They did it with Hispanics. They're doing it now with trans. Anything they can do to divide and make you surrender your rights. That's what they do. They are the true evil in this world. Collectivists will use or do anything, sacrificing the truth to promulgate this fantasy that is supposed to prompt you to feel guilty about who and what you are. And why people like me are so dangerous to them, because I don't feel guilty about who I am. And neither should you. Folks, let me ask you, who's doing it right? Who's giving you good information? Who's a real journalist out there you trust? The phone lines aren't lighting up right now, which means That's a very sick and sad state in American journalism, isn't it? When nobody can think of any name. Stossel, there's one. Back in a minute. Chris Salcedo Show on the Voice of Texas.
Be a Planner Show host Nathan Ross wants to remind you, please consider all the syndication terms of your private real estate partnership. By understanding the syndication math, Nathan can help you assess the benefits of ownership. Visit beaplanner.com or tune in each Sunday at 7 a.m. for the Be a Planner Show with Nathan Ross, CPA on KSEV.
You know,
I'm having a good morning. I don't know about you guys. I'm having a very good morning. And you know what? I wish I could say it's all because I'm upbeat. I'm feeling kind of good after Texas went conservative in the GOP runoffs. It's maybe that's factoring into it, but you know, also made me feel good. This morning, I've had my cup of Hunter's Blend coffee. On to my second cup of Hunter's Blend coffee. Hunter's Blend coffee, folks. When these guys approached me, I was like, man, yeah, sure, go ahead, send me some samples. They did, and I was like, whoa. And in fact, I was so impressed with these guys. Not only have I made them the official coffee sponsor of the Chris Salcedo Show, another conservative influencer out there, I referred them to him, and now he's promoting them, and now he's got people in his audience selling this great product, and his audience is buying Hunter's Blend coffee. Now, why are we so high on Hunter's Blend coffee? Well, first off, a bunch of patriotic Christian guys run Hunter's Blend coffee. They support the Second Amendment, your right of self-defense. It's in the name, right? But it's beyond that. The product itself. The top 6% of coffee beans produced in the world go into Hunter's Blend coffee, meticulously crafted and then shipped right to your front door. You've never had coffee this fresh, never had coffee this good. Trust me when I tell you, folks. It is going to make your morning upbeat, yes, because of the caffeine, but because it's a great taste experience, pairing well with whatever breakfast you have on the table. Or if you're just a coffee drinker in the morning, if this is your only start to the day, why not make it scrumptious? HuntersBlendCoffee.com/storm. HuntersBlendCoffee.com/storm. Use the promo code STORM for 10% off that first order. The promo code is STORM. 10% off your first order at HuntersBlendCoffee.com/storm. The official coffee sponsor of the Chris Salcedo Show. Get your order in today. All right, kids, welcome back. Telephone number is 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. The question to all of you is, in preparation for an election campaign where you're going to have the press lying to you, the same way they've lied to you about slavery, lying by omission, many of them, how will you sort through who do you trust in the journalistic realm? Let Stossel finish off his examination of this claim. Before America, slavery didn't exist.
The Arabs targeting Africa took out about 17 million people.
The British and then the Americans were the rare people who moved to abolish slavery.
So yeah, the British Navy, in a story almost no one now knows, sank something like 1,600 slave ships. It freed 150,000 people that were enslaved at the time.
Because the Brits objected for moral reasons.
Yeah, they'd had enough of it.
Saudi Arabia only abolished the slave trade relatively recently.
Well, that's another inconvenient fact, right?
The Global Slavery Index estimates that even now, although slavery is officially illegal, there are more than 700,000 slaves in Saudi Arabia.
Really? Folks, this was an eye-opener to me. That's nearly a million, 750,000 people still enslaved in Saudi Arabia alone. Modern day slavery. Yet we're told America is the bad guy by who? By Democrats. The very same Democrats, when they're given a choice between a white guy and a black woman, choose the white guy. When they're given a choice between a white man, a fake Hispanic, and a real black man, Colin Allred, who, by the way, he's weak. He is a Democrat after all, but who do Democrats choose? The white guy. Naturally. Robert Francis Beta O'Rourke.
Where there were no Westerners, you'd have a lot of slavery for a long time. And you do.
American slavery was horrible. But it wasn't unique. Our culture would be healthier if we learned about that. And schools dwelling on America's evils hasn't helped Americans get over them. Gallup polls show that after schools started focusing on oppression, race relations got worse.
The idea of generational slavery, the idea of slave trading, none of that was unique to America. And another thing, you don't need radicalism to critique the worst excesses of an existing system. All you need is incrementalism and honesty.
In a few weeks, I'll post a video about another of Riley's myths, the claim that before Columbus, the native people were kind stewards of the environment.
I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name.
That's Pocahontas. Of course, it's Disney. Woke Disney. Promulgating a myth. John Stossel, folks, that's the logo. Stossel TV, you can catch his reporting. An actual journalist. I'm a fan, as you can tell. Tell me who you trust. We're going to be getting into probably one of the most corrupt election cycles as far as information is concerned. We've seen it with Paxton. It's going to get even worse with every Republican. And I want to know who you trust to give you the straight news. Telephone numbers 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. We go to Jenny. Jenny, welcome to the Salcedo Show. Do you have a name? Who is a journalist that you actually watch and trust, if there is one?
Absolutely none.
None, you say? Wow.
Nope. I watch everybody. I go to CNN. I go to MS Now. I go to Fox. I go to OAN. I listen to all sides.
Okay.
And I make my own decision.
Well, I understand that. But so if you listen to all sides, you've got to trust the fact. I mean, you heard in Stassel's piece, you've got Democrats out there saying that slavery didn't exist before America. So if you've got somebody at MS Now who's saying that, it's a complete and utter lie.
Absolutely.
So you wouldn't trust that person. Is there anybody you trust to give you straight facts?
Nope.
No.
I go and I do my own research after I hear what everybody else is saying.
Good girl. I like that. I hope you do it with me too. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Good girl. Jenny, I am proud of you. Now look, there are some people I trust. Stossel's one of them. Right? Brett Baer is another one of those. Bill Hemmer kind of has my admiration too, as kind of a straight down the middle journalistic kind of guy. Nobody at ABC, nobody at CBS, nobody at NBC fake news, nobody at the Democrat Morning News, nobody at the Houston Comical. None of them have my trust. Very few. Cheryl Atkinson. Do you know the name Cheryl Atkinson? She was former CBS. She got fired because she wanted to report fairly. She did some exposés on Bush, and then she wanted to report fairly on Obama. And CBS said, "Well, it's okay going after Bush, but it's not okay going after Obama." They fired her, right?
Yeah. But I don't trust anything out of anybody else. I go and do my own research.
Good, right on. And I encourage.
I listen to folks.
I encourage everybody to do that. Jenny, what you just said, I encourage everybody else to do that. Another one, Catherine Herridge. Really like Catherine Herridge. Thank you, lady. Appreciate the call. Let me get out to Michelle. Michelle, what do you say? Who do you trust on, either local or national stage to give you the straight information so you can make up your own mind?
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Listening to Jenny, my answer is the same. I trust myself.
Wow.
And, and I heard your questions to her. You can hear all these people. I don't listen to all the other people. I watch the debates between the people and then I go straight to their voting records locally and nationally. And then I pray about it and I use my discernment and I carry on. I just can't. I think the silence is deafening when you ask the question. I think all of us in our hearts know that we can't trust everybody. Man has an inherent desire to push things for their own agendas, whatever they are, and we have to be obvious. We need to pay attention to that and know that there's a hidden reason, and we may never know the reason, but we have to recognize that there's an agenda, and everybody has one.
The Constitution was created to stop that or temper that human impulse. The founding fathers knew exactly what you're talking about. So the Constitution was created to create a balance, counterbalance, so that Americans could be free to do what you're doing, which is explore, and what Jenny is doing, to explore the truth, do your own digging, do your own factual discovery. So you don't trust anybody. That's I think that's the healthier way to go. Now, what are you doing to prepare for what is going to be likely one of the most dishonest pieces of garbage election cycles in this nation's history? What are you doing to gird yourself against what's coming?
Well, you stay prayed up, and you find people that are, I'm going to say, with a winning mindset, who are not going to succumb to the negativity, the blackpilling, the defeatism, if you will, and you find some humor. Mm-hmm. And I think yesterday on the chat, Alex and I'm like, oh yeah, because we're going to have a lot of fun with the memes, and there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth you can throw through with humor.
All right.
Like the guy in California is doing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Preston. Yeah.
Scott Pressler's doing it with some humor. You've got the guy running for LA in LA mayor. So and Kenny Webster, our buddy Kenny Webster, I just did a podcast that's going to drop on Friday with him. He's a comedian. He's a morning show guy like me, but he's a really funny guy. I mean, I make a joke every once in a while, but I'm mostly an issues guy. So look, I think I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and doing your own investigations. And you mentioned God twice in our discussion. And I think individuals who have a conviction toward the ultimate truth, which is of course God, which is of course, in my opinion, as a Christian, Jesus Christ, when you have a conviction in a core, you're not going to be easily BS'd. You're going to be able to see through lies a little more quickly when you have a core conviction. And this goes back to our discussion about Michael, right? Remember Michael? This guy gets on, all he does is blah, 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 complain, never has a point to make, just wants to, just out of sheer hatred, is governed by hatred, try to come on this program, express his hatred for me, express his hatred for Trump, even to the point to where he'd use autistic children to make his deviant lack of arguments, to complain.
Absolutely. And there's so many people, and I'm guilty of this myself, who call it the left against the right, the Dems against the Republicans. But it's a different battle right now. It is truly a spiritual battle. It is good. It's up versus down. It's good versus evil.
America first versus America last. Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
When we've got to be able to put the geometric pieces together and know what is of man, what is of God, tested against the Bible.
Oh, I know.
And
I'm so glad. Wait a minute. I'm glad you brought that up, because of all the lies out there, right? We talked about the slavery lies. We talked about the racism lies. Who are the real racists? All of them, the man-made global warming stuff. This gender bender stuff. And actually I made reference to it. The Democrats have chewed up and spit out blacks, Hispanics, gays, and now they're on to trans people, telling America that science doesn't matter anymore, that guys can be girls and girls can be guys and men belong in women's sports. It's just absolute idiocy, and pushing and having that core conviction you and I were just talking about can help you sort through it. Michelle, thank you very much. Appreciate the call this morning. Telephone number is 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Folks, we made a connection with our guest. She's going to be in next. We're asking, who do you trust? Who do you trust in journalism? This is going to be one of the most corrupt election cycles probably in recent memory. You get this sense it's all coming down to how this is a big decision for us in America in the midterms. Will we go down 1,000 years of darkness, or will we rescue the United States? Will we defer back to truth rather than leftist and Marxist fantasies that we have to believe to have any of their stuff make sense? Real journalists are out there. We'll talk to one next in the Voice of Texas.
Catch Chris X Radio weekdays at
Christy
4,
Lee, I
right
see you
here
there.
on
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Give me a 5 count real quick.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nice. It's nice to have a professional that puts that microphone exactly where it needs to be. And cool. We just have a couple of spots, some weather, and get the forecast in Houston and hang tough. We'll be right back with you.
Voice of Texas.
All right.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
My friends, on your screen right now, you see the new book, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. It's available in hard copy. I was just on Amazon's site yesterday. They've actually dropped some of the prices on the hard copy only. So you can get it at a discounted rate today. We dropped it in December. And so Amazon has, a little bit of a surplus, so you can pick it up, at least the hard copy, at a discounted rate right now. Turns out when I was writing this retrospective on how we got the America First agenda back in, and I was giving a prescription to how we ought to array the country forward so that we make America First mainstream again. Turns out this is a primer not only on what we've done, but what we should be doing in 2026. So pick it up, hard copy or the audiobook form, The Rise of the Liberty-Loving Latino, A New American Revolution. Head to Amazon right now, pick up your copy, make my publisher make me very happy. Every single time you pick up a copy, folks, an angel gets his or her wings. So do your bit for King and Country.
40 KGBC, the voice of Texas.
From the KSEV Weather Center, today will feature partial sunshine with a high of 90. Expect partly
You can take me up to the top.
73. Tomorrow will bring partial sunshine once again with a high reaching 92. Saturday is expected to have a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 92. Sunday will see a combination of clouds and sunshine with a high of 90. On Monday, anticipate glimpses of blue sky along with a chance of a thunderstorm with a high of 90. With the KACV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Okay, kids, welcome back. You have found the Chris Salcedo Show. I am your liberty-loving Latino. Do not confuse me with loudmouth leftist Latinos out there. I actually love my country, love my state, the United States of America, and the great state of Texas. The media is going to have its say. The biased press will have its say in this election cycle. And I can tell you, as somebody who used to work in news, as somebody who used to work on national television, you're not going to get the straight poop about a lot of stuff. You're going to be getting somebody else's agenda, somebody else's take on things, and you need to be discerning. When I read a short biography of my next guest, I was like, I have got to get her on. Because frankly, there's a lot of parallels between where she's going or where she's been and where I think I'm heading here. Let me bring her on. Christy Lee, an award-winning former mainstream news anchor, more than 20 years of broadcasting experience, a veteran is what we call that in the industry. She won the Ohio Associated Press Anchor Award for a head anchor role in California. She took a job there, then walked away from a successful legacy media career to report independently, fight for this little thing we call truth and accountability for everybody. And then you can find her daily on Lindell TV, with the DC Dispatch and weekly long-form show, Get Free with Christy Lee. And there she is, Christy Lee. Hey, welcome, lady. It's great to meet you.
Hey, good morning. Great
Good
to
morning.
be here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Look, tell me the story because I'm eager to hear it. And this is, by the way, folks, you're hearing it the same time I'm hearing it for the first time. What was the straw that got you out of corporate media to branch out on your own? Very, very risky. What drove you to do it?
Well, obviously, with any major decision, I mean, this was literally my childhood dream to be a news anchor. And so to achieve that, I still give all the glory to God for allowing me to achieve my dream. And so, like anything, it was a mixture of things, but I would say the straw that broke the camel's back for me, if that's what you're after, was that moment when we saw all those doctors on the steps of the Capitol, and this story was reported and then quickly disappeared. You want to talk about disappearing. They love that word now when it comes to illegals, but they disappeared, these doctors. They took their voice away. And the fundamental thing about being a journalist is to be a voice for the voiceless. Tell stories and elevate those voices that are not heard. And so when I saw voices being taken away in the name of journalism, that this was being cheered on, I saw colleagues being like, yeah, good, they're taken off Facebook. I saw them being disappeared everywhere. I'm like, what are we doing? We're supposed to be a voice for the voiceless. Right now, these voices are being stifled and you're cheering this on. So that was really, I would say, the straw that broke the camel's back, because you didn't have to agree with these doctors and their perceptions on how to approach a very new phenomenon, a pandemic, if you will, that no one had ever seen or heard before until that point. You didn't have to agree with their approach, but we still as journalists had a responsibility to let people know what they were saying. I mean, that's just fundamental. I mean, if you approach journalism as we are a deliverer of information, you just simply have to say, this is what these people are saying, and this is what these other people are saying. You can say, as of now, it appears they're in the minority of how to approach this, and these doctors are in the majority, but you still have to allow their voice to be heard.
Right. I'm totally with you. And I've had a similar experience. I was once in news myself before I went into commentary, and so much, and I admire the job of journalists so much, because I can't do what I do as an opinion host without facts. So what I'm getting largely from the press is a skewed, slanted bit of propaganda. And that leads into my next question, because one of the biggest lies I've ever been told by those who promulgate fake news is that left-wing bias in the press doesn't exist. Can you confirm or deny that left-wing bias in the press exists?
No, it absolutely exists, even at networks that are supposedly conservative.
Ooh.
Sinclair was constant and still is, I think, accused of being conservative. Fox News is still labeled as conservative, but not in my experience. I worked for both Sinclair and Fox News Corp. And one of those things that was making me question, what are we doing? What direction is journalism going? Is actually, if you're not familiar with how local news works, of course, there's the local stories that are generated, but every newsroom also has packages that come down either from the network or the corporate ownership. And one of those stories that came down was so jarring for me to read that I actually took it up with my news director. There was one sentence in particular, and I'm trying to take it from memory, but I'm pretty sure this is from memory. It was saying President Trump falsely claims without evidence the election was stolen. And I mean, just that one sentence alone, there's 3 qualifiers in there. Falsely claims is actually a qualifier, and without evidence.
Yep.
I'd never seen anything like this before. There was no attribution. Okay, according to whom? According to Sinclair, according to Vox, according to this particular reporter, where's the attribution? And I mean, it was so over the top.
It was AP copy, wasn't it?
What?
It was AP copy, wasn't it?
This was actually a report that came down from Sinclair.
Because I've seen that regurgitated. What I've seen.
But yeah, they were probably parroting, and that's the other thing is that they all rationalize it because they're all parroting each other. They're like, well, this is what the Associated Press is saying, so surely it can be in my script. But I mean, you have the falsely, and then in journalism school, we learned to avoid using the word claims, always avoid using it, because there is this undertone of when you use the word claims that it's just like, well, this is what they're saying, but it's audacious. It's obviously like not true, So I actually remember my very first news anchor mentor. I am a writer fundamentally. I started in print. And so I would probably say too flowery of writing to begin with. And I remember still to this day, the news anchor saying, just say says, like, just say this person says this and this person says this. And you're going to think you're saying says is too much. But she's like, then you don't risk giving like your kind of undertone of your opinion in the story. You're just delivering what people are saying. You're informing people what the collection of information is. So you don't need to make it flowery or anything. Just say says. And that stuck with me. And so then when I took this lead anchor job in California, and I'm seeing all these flowery adjectives everywhere in the scripts, I'm like, how is this suddenly okay to qualify everything and use all these adjectives? And then this, you talked about Cheryl Atkinson before. I have both of her books because I just am so on the same page with her experience in my journey. And she talked about this phenomenon of the without evidence as well. We never used without evidence for any other president or really any other story. I mean, basically you would just say, you could say, if you're like working on a local case, the sheriff says there's no evidence to corroborate what this suspect is saying, but like we would never just say
you don't declare that.
Suspect, there's no evidence for this.
Exactly. Journalists are not supposed to declare there's no evidence. Journalists are not supposed to declare one way or the other. They're supposed to. It's called attribution, folks. That's what a real journalist will do. The sheriff says there's no evidence. Chuck Schumer says that President Trump's a claim about the election is without evidence. That's how you do fair reporting, but we didn't get that. And again, you heard me harping on the Associated Press. The Associated Press is the worst. I mean, they're the ones who say you can't say illegal alien anymore. Even though it's a legal term of art, they say you cannot say the term illegal alien. That's why we use it repeatedly. I tell the Associated Press.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was actually earlier on in my career, back when I'm from Toledo. So I wore my Toledo shirt and my hometown is there. But that is something else that came out of nowhere. Suddenly we were directed not to say illegal immigrant. We were directed not even to say immigrant. We were directed to always say migrant, which is fundamentally not correct. Migrant and immigrant are two different things. Migrant is just passing through. An immigrant is somebody that intends to stay. Obviously, all these people that came over the border they were intending to stay. They weren't just passing through. So, so migrant is the not appropriate word to use, but the word that we were directed. We were literally directed to always use the word migrant.
It's a meaningless term. And again, when people who claim to be journalists start using phrases and terms that muddy the waters, that's not what journalism is. They don't want you discerning between an illegal alien, a legal immigrant, or somebody who's just passing through. That's why they insist on using migrant, so you can't define who the hell we're talking about. And as a Latino, I find it patently offensive that so many in the left-wing press want to say, well, we're going to lump in individuals who are legally in this country with the people who broke into the country. They're just the same, right? We're all the same. It's absolutely asinine. Folks,
let's go back to that word evidence, though, as well, because evidence is different than proof, right? So they want to say things like without evidence, but evidence can be a collection of things that like helps back up your claim. It doesn't mean that it's proof. So, I mean, that was always incorrect as well. There's certainly evidence that there was problem with the elections. I mean, just the fact that there was an unprecedented amount of mail-in ballots during a pandemic, that is evidence. It may not be proof that something was wrong, but it's still evidence. So to flatly say they continue to say these things without evidence is just patently incorrect. And the other thing is the Poynter Institute I used to go to these conferences and used to look up to them for journalism ethics. And they actually, during this whole process, changed their stance even on objectivity. They said, you have to stop arguing about objectivity and just tell the truth.
Hold that thought.
Let's
Hold
go back
that-
to attribution. Truth according to whom?
Exactly.
Truth according to you?
Hold that thought, because you took me right where I wanted to go. And folks, by the way, journalists are not supposed to say, oh, we have determined what the truth is. That's not journalism. Christy Lee is our guest right now, folks. Award-winning former mainstream news anchor, broke out on her own, 20 years of experience in the business, and is now doing what corporate media wouldn't allow her to do: tell the truth, present the facts, and let you decide. I want to play this for you because this is where it started. This is a few years back, but this is, in my mind, a sign of the degradation of what journalism should be, and where the decline began with statements like this from Lester Holt. Listen.
I think it's become clearer that fairness is overrated. Well, before you run off and tweet that headline, let me explain a bit. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in. That the sun sets in the west is a fact. Any contrary view does not deserve our time or attention.
So he is declaring himself and the left-wing press as an arbiter of what can be talked about and what can't be talked about.
And this is the thing. This is the ego element of it. I can speak for it myself. I rose from what we call a one-man band to where I was doing everything, interviews, editing, all of that, to the lead anchor in my hometown. I was the hometown girl. I was recognized in grocery stores. I was asked to be on all of these boards and speak at all of these events. And there's an element of that is, I guess, is invasive, but there's also an element that is good for your ego. I mean, I'll be honest. It pumps you up. It's like, I'm a community leader, whether deserved or not. Right. So I mean, I get that. I mean, anyone that tries to deny that doesn't feel good in some aspect is lying. So, I mean, this is a business that pumps you up, and then you layer on the social media aspect of it. I'm an extremely competitive person. So and this is a whole nother thing that we could go down a rabbit hole with, but I was in the business when social media came on the scene and became an element of our news process, to the point that every station I worked at had a big TV and showed how our station was doing in ranking in social media and how we as individuals were doing in ranking, comparing us to our colleagues and also our competitors in the area. And I was determined to be number one. I will be number one on this element. I'm a competitive person. And so, but looking back, there was aspects of that didn't feel good. Like, for example, this is a silly one, but there was a time that Sonic had a pickle slush. I'm a pickle fan, so I'm like, I got to try this. Oh, I'm going to put this on social media. So I showed myself live trying pickle slush or whatever, and I shot up to number one. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but if I worked for 2 weeks on an investigative piece that I was strongly passionate about, maybe I wouldn't get number one. So I realized that I was rewarded for stupid postings or stupid selfies. And I played the game to be number one because that was important to me. But it was also seriously, selfies and slushy reviews is what's getting me praise. Everybody needs to be more Christy. She's number one. I was getting praise for this. And it's so disgusting, right? So,
I can tell you that even in opinion, in conservative talk radio, there are names that you would know as far as major companies. They have banned discussion that is of benefit to Americans. Is you wonder why gas prices are so high, you wonder why energy prices are so high, you wonder why your bottom line, why taxes keep going up, why the state's doing certain things, why your quality of life is going down. Don't focus on any of that. Just focus on the new Barbie movie or focus on the new sports score. There are companies, major ones that you would know about, that are setting policy down. Ignore everything that is germane to people's lives and just appeal, as you said, appeal to stupid. It's called stupid radio. And they're doing it for clicks. They're doing it for what they believe will be ratings, and they're sacrificing the country in the process. I got two more questions, and we got a limited time to get them in. So let me ask this. Politically correct language, and we've already touched on this briefly. How that and the status of the press writ large is going to impact this election cycle, which is, you heard me tell the audience, it is going to be one of the dirtiest political processes I think we've ever seen in this country in 2026. How do you see this all going?
Well, let's just look at what's happening with the Spencer Pratt campaign. It's not about what he is drawing attention to that fundamentally needs change. They're trying to not make it about the failures of how they've dealt with the homeless or why his house was burnt down. They've completely gone after his character, him as a person, and they, even the background. I think you've probably seen the recent clip where they ask him, like, well, you're a reality star. And they're also trying to tie this to Donald Trump. They're trying to appeal to, okay, we know a lot of people hate Donald Trump. So if we make it out like Spencer Pratt is Donald Trump, then that's a way we can take him down. So they're saying, oh, he's just a reality star. He doesn't have any experience. But then they don't balance it and talk about Karen Bass's background. He's the one that has to bring that. That's not being fair and balanced. If you're going to talk about his background, then you need to dig deep and talk about Karen Bass's background.
They're doing it to Paxton too. They're doing this. It's the same script, same playbook, doing it to Paxton. Anybody who wants to oppose a Marxist or a leftist.
This is the news. These aren't the commercials. This is the news that's doing this. We expect this from commercials, propaganda campaigns, character assassinations. But when the news is jumping on board with that, I mean, of course, they're going to be involved in trying to take down the direction of the American people, which is hanging on to our liberties, hanging on to truth, and our rights.
Now, last question I have for you, and it's take as much time or as little time as you need with it, because I asked the audience earlier, and I'll tell you, I asked them, who's doing it right? Who do you rely on? Who? And you already mentioned Cheryl Atkinson as one of your personal heroes, so we could put her in the. And I'm a fan too, but. Every caller that called into the radio show was saying, I don't trust anybody. Yeah. I hear what they say, and then I go out and do my own investigation, which is I'm proud of them in one way, but it's also sad in another that you can't rely on individuals. But I encourage people even to check me. You know, when I say something and you're like, I don't know if that sounds right, go out and check me out. Who do you think is out there doing journalism correctly?
Well, I appreciate the phone callers saying that they don't trust anybody. I think you do need to start there. We are all flawed as human in the biblical worldview. We're all flawed. So you shouldn't trust anyone. You should take everything to God and use your discernment. But it's funny because there was I believe it was a Science article that came out during, the pandemic that was saying the headline was something to the effect of why doing your own research is dangerous. They want to they don't even want to allow us to do our own research.
Right.
I mean, for me personally, since I left mainstream news, I try and keep a very broad view. And so I do look at Citizen Free Press or the Liberty Daily, but then I also just Google News and see what they're saying. And and Drudge Report, which is, I would say the opposite. I try and just have a well-rounded view of what everyone is saying. And then I think that helps me best to discern, okay, this is to this way, or because at the end of the day, I mean, I will say since leaving, it's been a heck of a journey leaving mainstream news and then suddenly being thrown into the conservative media sphere. I've always been an independent, not Republican, not Democrat, but by very virtue of leaving the mainstream news, I was suddenly conservative media. What I mean? Wait, how did I get here? I never said I was.
If you're not a left-wing kook, they consider you a conservative, right?
Exactly.
If you do fairness, they consider you right-wing. Which
Exactly.
I'll
Yes. And
take it.
so that was, of course, the character. If we're going to talk about character assassination, that was the character assassinations immediately when I decided to leave mainstream news. Oh, well, you're complaining about the bias, but now you're going to be biased. And I'm like, but if you're looking at journalism in scales, and it's already tilted this way because mainstream media is so left-wing biased, if I have to elevate this point of view is as the goal of getting to some degree of fairness, then yes, I am going to have to elevate this other view. This is the voice for the voiceless area now, in order to bring back some fairness to the equation. So I reject that I'm being biased the other way. I'm just trying to even out the scales. It was my response. But I will say that, in my journey, because I've kind of bounced around since going independent, there are fundamental flaws within the conservative media sphere as well.
Yes.
Anytime, and I've worked, I'm not going to name any names because it's not constructive, but I've worked for networks in the conservative sphere, if you will, that have literally told me what I can and cannot talk about. Which is why, and I said, wait, this is why I left mainstream media, because they were telling me what I could and couldn't talk about. I'm like,
let me back you up on that. Let me back you up on that. That is happening. I can 100% attest that is happening.
What do you think the main topic is that they want to give you restrictions on?
Well, I can say election integrity was the big one in my experience.
Yes, that is definitely part of it, but there's also Israel. Like, no matter what you have to say about it, like there's restrictions on talking about Israel. And I'm like, no, I didn't give up my childhood dream career to come to an independent, which has been a struggle, to be told what I can and cannot talk about, or who we can hear from.
That's why I wanted to invite you on, because I know that, folks, what you got to understand about what Christy's doing, what I have done just recently, is jumping out on your own. It's scary, and there's no safety net, and getting out there and doing your own thing and setting your own standards. It's a hell of a risk, and that's why I wanted to do what I could to promote what she's doing, and to let you know, folks, that there are people out there who are saying, yeah, you know what, when we're going to start rowing in our own direction. Christy Lee, if folks want to catch up with you, where can they go?
They can go to lindelltv.com. I have a daily show, DC Dispatch, that airs at 3 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And then I do Get Free with Christy Lee, so I can dive into other fun topics for longer form interviews on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Right on, lady. Thank you very much. It's great to meet you. Come back soon. Folks, that's going to wrap up the Chris Salcedo Show. You have a blessed day. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Folks, there is a contest that we're going to be focusing on. Who will be running the Republican Party of Texas moving forward? We talked to Abraham George yesterday. You'll hear his challenger, who happens to be the vice chair of the Republican Party right now, tomorrow. Join us then on The Voice of Texas.
All right, see you, dude.
Amen.
You're listening to The Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 1540 KGBC Galveston.
All right, folks, there goes The Voice of Texas. I think I still have Christy on. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can bring her back up. I think she's still on. This is bonus content, folks. We don't normally do this, but you know what? Frankly, Christy, because you came on and let's just be accurate. You family first, and I was so happy, folks. I had interaction with her. She goes, "Look, I gotta drop off the kids. I gotta drop off the kids at school." And so, family first. I love it. Number one. I so appreciated everything you're saying, and it's like that's why I was so eager to talk to you, because I would imagine the journey that the trails you're blazing are the ones I'm just starting out on. So that's why I wanted to hear from you. So I mean, that's why I had to wrap it up quickly, because we were saying goodbye to the radio show. But yeah, so go over those the way people can find you again, and do it a little slower so people can find you.
Yeah, I mean, as always, you can follow on X. I'm probably most active over there nowadays because Facebook and Instagram basically hide me.
Yes.
X does a little bit, I think, but it's at Christy Lee TV on X, and then I do the shows on Lindell TV. And I want to make this caveat. I said that there's people in the conservative sphere who have tried to direct what I say, who I can talk to, who I can interview. That hasn't been my experience at Lindell TV, obviously, because I am with them currently. The other one that never did that to me actually was InfoWars. I actually went completely from one spectrum. I went from mainstream news anchor to InfoWars, like about as opposite as you could possibly get. But basically, they wooed me over to contribute with saying, you know, we're not going to control anything that you cover, anything that you say. And, you know, Alex asked me an interesting question when I was contributing for him, and was like, you know, if it was your dream, like, how would you want to approach this? And I'm like, I've always wanted to approach the news from a biblical worldview. Like, how would God, like, how as Christians should we approach this topic? And I just remember him being like, yeah, Jesus, I love Jesus, you know, in his gruff voice.
You know, we've had experience with that in Texas with the focus. We're supposed to have a biblical worldview writ large in Texas, in a red state, but it hasn't always worked out because those who are controlling the levers of power have never ceased being Democrat, and even if they call themselves Republicans. I don't know if you know this, but in the Texas legislature, the Speaker of the Texas House, in a vast majority Republican majority, was elected with 49 Democrats and 36 Republicans.
So disgusting.
I mean, who runs it, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway,
and then we have now James Telefrico, who calls himself a pastor, completely blasphemous, completely against a biblical worldview. I mean, this is just such an abomination.
It is.
He has a lot of money behind him, though, so I don't think that we should underestimate him.
No.
In this race. But I mean, it's just, he's so fake all around. I mean, he's literally on camera saying that their campaign is going to not eat meat, and then I just see Democrats on X, like the official Democrats page, posting a picture of him eating this big drum of meat. And I'm like, you're so fake. You've got to be kidding me.
You know what? From the biblical perspective, I mean, the idea that Jesus is non-binary, right? Wait a minute. He is the Son of Man. He was a male. He walked the earth as a male. This idea that there are 6 genders, the idea that the Bible doesn't have an opinion about abortion. I mean, it's
thou shalt not murder. I mean, hello.
It's absolutely insane. So, hey, look, I saw you hanging out. I just wanted to say goodbye in the proper way, because I know we were up against the clock. Please stay in touch. And if you're going to be covering Texas, as you know, I'm based here, and we're going to be watching James Telefrico like a hawk, and something to consider maybe in your coverage going forward. When Democrat voters were put up with a fake Latino and Beto O'Rourke and a black man, the Democrats chose the white fake Beto O'Rourke. When they were put up with a fake Christian white man versus Jasmine Crockett, who was black, they chose the white fake Christian. And they have the gall to say that it is conservatives who are racist. I don't think so. Hey, it was fantastic meeting you, and please come back.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Christy Lee, take it easy. There she goes, folks. And here we go. I got to get over to Sean Spicer's show. So I'm going to be on with Sean Spicer here in mere moments. Guys, have a great day. See you mañana on The Voice of Texas.